climate change is a human rights issue, and this is why we need to take climate action. My name is Iona Taylor. I am in 12th grade. I live in Old St. Vital. I play the piano and the harp, and I am part of Manitoba Youth for Climate Action and the climate justice movement. So I first heard about the climate strikes and Greta Thunberg. I was interested, and I've always been someone who is conscious of my environmental impact and wants to connect with the world around me in that kind of way. And I knew that climate change was happening and that this is something that is inevitably going to affect the world around us. I started getting involved. I started becoming part of the group. I realized that climate change was a much more vast and multifaceted issue than what I first encountered. I started hearing adults around me talking about how our future was really kind of hopeless and that there wasn't anything that can be done, and we were already on a track to kind of mass extinction. I felt really affronted and kind of shocked that this was something that could even be conceived. I started looking at people around me. I felt much more connected to what climate change means. Climate change is derived from global warming, and global warming happens when carbon dioxide and other air pollutants in the air that will absorb the sun's rays and absorb the rays that are coming off of the earth in heat and sort of create this envelope around the earth. That means that the world is slowly starting to warm up. Climate change is caused by human activity, and so this happens when we are burning fossil fuels. So that could be in driving cars, in transporting things, in extracting things from the ground, and that produces carbon dioxide, methane, and other greenhouse gases, which will then accumulate in our atmosphere a lot more than they normally would. The weather gets more volatile, and we see a lot more natural disasters such as floods, droughts, hurricanes, tornadoes. So I think it is easy to forget the importance of climate change in the face of what the media is showing. It can seem kind of distant. It's the polar bears, or it's the koalas, or it's the trees. But I think what is important to remember is that climate change is a human rights issue, and this is why we need to take climate action and climate justice. It is something that is impacting people all over the world, creating disparities between different groups of people. Our neighbors, our friends and family, and even people we don't know that are being displaced, people who are famished by different disasters that have cut their food supply, who don't have access to clean water. I think we have to look at the interconnectedness of everything that surrounds us, and we're looking at the people who are most impacted first and worst. So like the indigenous peoples who depend on their land, the farmers who depend on the land for their livelihood, and then indirectly us through their crops that they're growing that we are consuming. The tensions between countries, between communities, between neighborhoods, divisions that climate change will create. We really have to take into consideration how we are all one. So I think the main impacts of climate change in Canada can be seen up north with the loss of more Arctic parts of Canada, and in looking at communities where they depend on winter roads to get a lot of their supplies, looking at our indigenous peoples who really depend on the land that they're in contact with and their sacred ties to the land, and the fact that a lot of these communities, they don't have access to clean water. Looking at people maybe with health issues, complications that will be impacted by this, or maybe people who are economically disadvantaged and living on the street. MICA, or Manitoba Youth for Climate Action, is a small coalition of a couple of Manitoba's young people with varying opinions and worldviews, but with a common goal: a just and sustainable future brought about by climate action and climate justice. I remember my first meeting, and one of our members, Lena, she immediately was like, "We definitely need you on the team." And I felt really welcomed in this space. The community of MICA has really brought me back, and my passion for this movement. Change is coming. Great hardships will inevitably come, but we must come together as a community, and most of all, we mustn't lose hope in this movement. Together, through kinship and love, we are strong. We must do all in our power to effectuate action and to rally together as a unified voice in this movement.